What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the season 2. This is episode 6, and with me as always, I have Blue Spade.
hmm Well, we can definitely say they're really upping the ante with, with this arc,
Mhm.
pretty much for the first time ever since it came out. Unless you're counting the Mugen Train arc, but yeah, overall the animation style, it was really top notch in this episode.
Yeah, this was a pretty action-heavy episode, and they really brought out their A game in terms of the animation. The animated fight scenes the fight scene between Tanjiro and Daki. Um, Especially whenever Tanjiro just completely loses control and just goes into his like berserk mode. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
So,
But yeah, I really
yeah.
wasn't expecting, honestly, Tanjiro to hold his own like he did in this episode against Daki. Um, we pretty much just go right back to his perspective, where he was kind of struggling against her, and of course he eventually turns the tables on her, which is really pretty interesting to watch.
Yeah, but what happens first is Daki summons all the rest of her obi sashes that were in the cavern of where Zenitsu, Tengen, and Inosuke were all fighting. Then and of course they all she summons them all back, which she ends up absorbing, which makes her even more powerful than ever. Like her hair turns white, we see her veins just like popping out like all over her body, and this unfortunately, brings out the attention of you know uh, uh, of the people living there, and Daki, of course, causes immense destruction around the town, which ends up killing like a ton of people in there.
Yeah, it got really dark. Like they just showed all these dead, the amount of carnage she caused, and all the people she killed, which was like most of them. Like there were actually only like a few survivors. Like most of the people ended up getting killed because she just destroyed the buildings with the people still inside. Um, and the guy that came out to complain about the noise, I think ended up having his arm cut off or something.
Yeah, he somehow survived, but of course, he obviously relents after witnessing all this destruction, and wants everyone to just pretty much evacuate the entire area. And then in the case for Tanjiro, like he sees all this destruction, and he just like just seethes with rage at this point. Like he just absolutely just doesn't care what happens to him as he tries to take out Daki at this point.
Yeah, and of course he's enraged by all the people that Daki killed, and he's saying, "How could you, how could you just kill all those people?" And this has like this memory come back to Daki, which I think she technically said it was like one of Muzan's memories.
Yeah,
And it was
it's
yeah, like you.
it looked like it was a descendant of, no, not descendant, just one of Tanjiro's ancestors that ended up fighting Muzan back in the past.
Yeah, and of course she remembers this because he kind of says the same thing that Tanjiro says, and kind of acts the same way.
Yeah, and then also like it also kind of transitions back to Rengoku's father. I guess he was writing some kind of apology letter to Tanjiro over the way he was acting when they first met, and of course he explains his reasonings as to why he ended up acting that way for several years, and why he abandoned Rengoku and Senjuro, and pretty much went to a drunken stupor for several years. It was because of his wife passing away.
Yeah, I mean, which we kind of figured that was the reason, that he was depressed over her death, and he also kind of took out his anger on his son.
hmm Yeah, and of course he also like gives Tanjiro confidence that he will master what was that ability?
Hinomi Kagura or something Kagura.
It's that, and there was also, he called it the sun breathing technique, which is also
that too, yeah.
an advanced form of the Hinokami Kagura. And also mentions that like about Tanjiro's scar, which he thinks it's a natural like birthmark, but we found out that Tanjiro's like the scar on his forehead was actually due to an accident in which he was trying to protect one of his siblings from getting hurt by, I think, one of the hot pots. I think ended up spilling over, and then it ended up spilling onto his forehead.
Yeah.
But
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but overall, the following battle with Tanjiro, like his eyes just completely goes bloodshot, and then just completely starts bleeding from his eyes, and then just it looked like he was just like almost impervious to pain at this point, and he just goes out and almost kills Daki on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, of course, this is when Tanjiro just completely like and he's also just able to deflect all the ribbons or the ribbons she kind of like throws at him, and she just deflects all that and tries to hit her, and eventually he ends up like pinning, like I guess like pinning all of her the sashes down, and like cutting, like kind of like cutting them off all at once.
Let's just talk about like how good the animation quality was in this moment.
It did remind me of like episode 19, the way like certain things looked with whenever he was like trying to slash her. It kind of reminded me of that, just how smooth everything looked.
Yeah, it's just Ufotable just like, this is why Ufotable just is really top notch in their overall quality with their animation style. Like they just go all out with just this one scene in particular, especially like the way Tanjiro ends up like slashing all of her obi sashes in such quick succession.
Yeah, I mean it just looked incredible. Like it's it was definitely like one of the, I would say like probably next to like the what was it, the Rengoku versus Asuka fight, it looked about as good as that, honestly, at certain points. Yeah.
So it gets to the point where Tanjiro is just on the verge of decapitating her, but then all of a sudden the strain of using whatever he was using alongside the Hino Kamikagura, he just completely collapses and just like almost suffocates from everything that he just went through.
Yeah, of course he couldn't really keep that up for long, and the fatigue pretty much catches up with him, and he's in a weakened state. So like Daki can do whatever with him if she wants to.
Yeah, and just as Daki is about to end up killing a vulnerable Tanjiro, Nezuko finally appears and just pretty much kicks her head off, the top of her head off, and then. I predicted that, in the last episode that Nezuko was gonna show up eventually, just on how bad Tanjiro was getting injured in this fight, and of course we knew Nezuko was gonna make an appearance one way or another. So, but of course Daki initially has the upper hand against Nezuko by cutting off some of her limbs. But then all of a sudden, like Nezuko, in all her rage, is able to regenerate incredibly quickly, like an upper moon would.
Yeah, and also while this is happening, we kind of get some flashbacks about like one of Tanjiro's siblings talking about. I think he was specifically talking about Nezuko, like how angry she would get at people if they ended up like hurting one of her siblings, I guess. And that kind of like is reflected in this whole fight scene. Where Nezuko is just completely enraged. But it's also here where, like, not only does she regenerate her limbs, but she also kind of gains this new form, which I kind of thought was going to happen in the last episode. I kind of spoiled myself with something that happens later in the manga where Nezuko has, like, this transformation form where she looks more, like, mature. And that's kind of what happens here, I guess. I guess it's like part of her blood art or something, but it's like, I guess, a more powerful form where she looks more mature and she has like a horn on her head. So yeah, it's like she's we kind of briefly are able to see like what she can do in this form, and it seems like she's way faster, and she's just in general much more powerful, and can pretty much go toe to toe with Daki.
Yeah, like she obviously has like let's not forget that Nezuko transformed into a demon thanks to Muzan's blood. So in turn, like she would have like some similar abilities that an upper moon would. So like
Yeah, which is
the
what
form.
Daki points out. That she has like she's pretty much on the same level as one of the upper six.
Yeah, but I have to wonder if this is only one of like the first of her transformations because like
Mhm.
I noticed that she only has one horn, but imagine like if how powerful she would be if like she was like at full strength after this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it almost kind of reminded me a little bit of Ichigo like transforming into his Vasto Lorde form in Bleach, where he kind of has that. He kind of has a little bit of a similar look to him with the horn.
Yeah, and of course the fight between Nezuko and Daki is pretty brief by the end of the episode, and it pretty much ends with Nezuko gaining with her new form just like really gaining the upper hand and just like immediately taking Daki down to her surprise.
Yeah.
And that's where the episode ends, and we'll have to see what's gonna happen with the fight between Nezuko and Daki in the next episode.
Well, we also know that Tengen is supposedly on his way to help out because we see them actually get out of the hole.
Yeah,
Pretty easily get out of the
really
hole too. I remember in the last episode review we were kind of wondering how they were going to get out of the hole, but it's yeah, they they just literally, I think they literally just jump out of the hole. So yeah, they pretty easily get out of it. So now they're just going to help out, going to find out where Daki is and help out Tanjiro.
Yeah, I mean, we have to wonder like if how they're gonna end up reacting if like not just seeing how bad Tanjiro looks, but overall like how they're gonna end up dealing with Nezuko, because I have to wonder like if with Nezuko's transformation if this is gonna like just pretty much like enrage her like to the point where she loses her mind.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because
yeah. Well, it's funny because I was
comparing
comparing it to Ichigo as well, and if you remember when Ichigo was in that form, he also kind of had the same thing happen where, like, yeah, he was really powerful, but he also attacked. He attacked anybody. Like he had completely lost his mind at that point. So it might be kind of a similar case with Nezuko, where she is just like she just completely loses it and will attack anybody around her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I thought this was an interesting development, and I really liked how good the quality was in this episode, and hopefully they'll definitely keep this up. I mean, I think this is still like only like what halfway through the season, and like it looks like it almost looks like it was more of a finale, than if anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I anticipate that there may be some other villains that show up too, because we still have Hazuka running around, so he could actually like confront them at some point.
Or maybe some kind of other upper moon demon might show up out of nowhere. I mean,
Yeah.
like Akaza is not the only upper moon demon that they have to contend with. There's like I think what was it? It said
There
like
are others
12,
we don't really know about, so I mean.
Yeah, there's 12 upper moon demons. So like they already engaged against like 2 of the upper moon demons, and of course they would have to contend with like 10 more of them wherever they are. And not to mention Muzan himself is also going to play a role obviously in the finale of like of the entire story arc.
Yeah, but I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. It was really good, especially with the whole reveal of Nezuko's of this new form Nezuko has. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
I really enjoyed how good the quality was in this episode.
Yeah.
Just like how all the amount of detail they put in almost every frame they put in during the with the whole Tanjiro sequence fighting against Daki.
Yeah, I definitely thought that was like the highlight. Honestly, it's just that part, especially like when he just goes completely berserk, and I mean not even that, but just whenever we see Nezuko fight in this new form, I mean everything just looks incredible. Whenever it comes to fight scenes, Ufotable just you can pretty much expect it's going to look really good if Ufotable's doing it. Yeah, that all being said, so until next Sunday, we will see you all next time.